You got to squint hard. But they ain't no squinting when you talk about that Cowboys defense without Micah Parsons. They got nothing. He is that entire defense. He's best. Like, this is essentially looking at, like a best quarterback. This is like looking at Lamar Jackson, the Ravens without Lamar Jackson when you're talking about the Cowboys without Micah Parsons. So from a football aspect, I think that there's just no way that you can overcome Micah Parsons defensively if you are the Cowboys. Now, if you're talking about outside of the actual X's and O's of football, the soft meanings behind this, the Jerry Jones aspect of this Cowboys thing, if you lose Micah Parsons, he no longer becomes an obstacle in what you're trying to build with the Cowboys. He is now an insurmountable force that is a deterrent from the Cowboys winning, because this all falls on the shoulders of Jerry Jones. This is his fumble. This is something that he has blown. This is an easy solution that is solely on Jerry Jones that this has not gotten done. And you look at him as the reason that this Cowboys franchise, if they do not get this thing done, right, is going from a team that you can say, hey, we can make some sort of push, or you have no shot. And that is what that means beyond the football. That's the importance of this for Jerry Jones and Michael.
Well, first off, it was Dan versus Dave. It was Dan O'Brien and Dave Johnson.
Yes.
It was a Reebok Olympic campaign.
Yes.
So this is perfect. Continue.
I think neither of those guys.
It was like a decathlon or something like that. Yeah, no
That
question.
was a great ad. I remember being a kid thinking, all right, wasn't athletic enough. Here's my thing, and I would really appreciate your perspective on it. With respect to Micah, I think Terry impacts winning in Washington more than Micah impacts winning in Dallas. I really do. I think Terry McLaurin is in that group of receivers that wins when it's hard to win and impacts the football team winning the same way that Jamar does in Cincy, that Justin does in Minnesota, and that Amon-Ra does in Detroit. They just have an impact on their offense and the production of it, and that offense being good enough for the team's ability to win. Micah's great. He's amazing. He's sensational. But I think you take Micah away from the Dallas Cowboys, and I still think they flirt with being a playoff contending football team.
Ooh.
Oh. I do. I do. Because I still think, Dave, to your point, like, there's some good individual players on that defense still.
And they also are just flirting with it, even with Micah Parsons right now.
Exactly. Where if you take Terry and he's in Washington absolutely expect to be in the playoffs. Absolutely. With Terry McLaurin's there. You take Terry away? Nope. No.
Yeah, I think to me, the argument for Terry in this conversation is the impact on Jayden. Right? There is, whether you're squinting or your eyes are wide open, there's an individuality to what Micah Parsons does that's different from what Terry McLaurin does.
Sure.
Right? Yes, Micah Parsons can impact wins and losses with sack fumbles and with huge plays and with pressures, but Terry McLaurin, we actually get to see what the winning plays look like, right? Where we're watching Jayden Daniels' coming out party against the Cincinnati Bengals, and we remember the catch, right? But on the other end of that is the throw from Jayden Daniels, and you say, wow, this was a play that signified Jayden Daniels' arrival as one of the guys. And so I do believe that has to be taken into context. I believe that has to be taken into context when we talk about who Terry McLaurin was for this group last year. But I think there's going to be also the individual player is not comparable to Michael Parsons.
That's true.
Right?
That's
who
true.
Michael Parsons is at his position as compared to who Terry McLaurin is at his position is different. You talking about how they help winning. It's also the fact that we watch Jamar Chase literally take over football games.
Right.
You see Jettas take over football games. We've seen Micah Parsons take over football games. Terry McLaurin has done an excellent job of doing his part in football
games. Which is the way you describe Terry McLaurin, it is clear that, at least in Washington, they don't see him as being that same force multiplier that you are describing him as. Because if that was the case, it wouldn't matter the age. It would just matter what he means in this locker room and what he means to our quarterback, and that is it. There would be no money is no object when it comes to that guy being the difference.
I don't know what they're looking at.
Yeah, and it's so difficult though, because there shouldn't be a negative thing said about Terry McLaurin as a player or a person. He is extremely valuable to that organization, but as business is being done in football, it's about how valuable are you to me. And that's what Adam Peters and Dan Quinn
But that's the other detriment when you do this to these players. When you have these holdouts and these contracts, we have to have these conversations where you say these things about them that, you know, they don't want to hear in these shows, or we're comparing them to other players. We're saying he's not good enough to do this, and we have these talks. These are the things that the players hear. This is the thing that makes it even more difficult. This is how it gets personal, because we have to have these comps and these conversations. Can he really do this? Can he really? That can be avoided if you just do the thing that makes the most sense, which is just paying the players.
Because what we're doing is trying to figure out the logic behind why Micah Parsons still doesn't have his money, or why Terry. That's why we're talking about it, because the owners have decided, hey, we're not, for whatever reason, we're not going to pay them right this minute. All right, we got to leave it there. Good stuff. All right, guys, what chance do we give the Eagles to